Chapter 706. The man seemed to have lost his mind in the face of death. He yanked the girl to her feet, shaking her by the shoulders all while Logan fought away. The girl, Lily, was nothing but weak then. She could hardly stand up, let alone emit that mysterious barrier of hers. Wilbur's expression finally darkened. Alia's howl of the banshee was considered a high-level attack, completely designed to attack one's spirit. Anyone who heard the howl would have their soul crushed or even obliterated, dying completely after that. Wilbur was lucky enough to have cast a spirit shield in time so that Ryder and Isabella were protected. Neither of them had the spirit energy to withstand an attack like the howl of the banshee. Alia, however, was still hovering in mid-air. It was unclear what else she had up her sleeve. She was a dangerous threat, and Wilbur wanted nothing more than to take her down as soon as possible. Over on the man's end, he had only been safe thanks to Lily's spirit barrier. But now that Lily had lost her powers, the ghostly soldiers pounced over hungrily. Logan was a terrific fighter, but his powers were completely useless in the face of the ghostly soldiers. The ghostly soldiers' weapons drove fiercely into Logan's body, one after the other. Thankfully, Logan managed to use his powerful strength to form a shield on him that stabilized his wounds for the time being. Yet he could not fight back in the slightest, merely crying out in pain and rage. Just then, there were already some ghostly soldiers who had gotten past Logan to make their way towards Lily and the man. The man panicked at once, shoving Lily at the ghostly soldiers. "You're as good as dead anyway, you useless thing." Just then, a blinding silver light lit up the entire room. Wilbur's spirit sword was nowhere to be seen, and in its place was a silver ball of light around the size of a basketball. It let off a terrifying wave of spirit pressure, covered densely in scripture and symbols. Wave after wave of spirit energy shot out at the ghostly soldiers' bodies, paralyzing them. The ball of silver light continued to grow, its power becoming more and more terrifying as well. At last, the Arch-King's expression began to shift into one of fear. Wilbur's powerful spirit energy had finally posed enough of a threat for him to sense the threat of death. "Alia!" the Arch-King shouted. Alia soared over to the Arch-King at once, opening her mouth to let out the howl of the banshee once again. Just then, however, Wilbur let out a howl of rage as he exploded the ball of light he was holding. Spirit energy exploded into the air like a bomb, filling the entire castle. All the ghostly soldiers were struck by this enormous power, dissipating into smoke. Even Alia's figure began to crumble before disappearing at last. The ghostly soldiers disappeared completely, and the hall went silent once again. The man and Lily stared at Wilbur in shock. Neither of them had ever come across someone quite this powerful before. Wilbur seemed like a monster to them, a dangerous threat. Wilbur, now drenched in sweat, began to make his way toward the Arch-King. Killing all the ghostly soldiers had pretty much drained him of his spirit energy, and he was extremely tired. The Arch-King looked furious, waving his scepter of death at Wilbur. A thick cloud of smoke emitting a deathly aura drifted out, making a beeline for Wilbur. Wilbur let out a cry, taking out his thunder cleaver and slashing back. The air rumbled with thunder as a terrifying blow struck the cloud of smoke. The Arch-King took the blow head-on. Bolts of lightning disintegrated him completely. The scepter of death fell out of his hands and onto the ground with a loud clang. At the same time, the cloud of smoke also landed on Wilbur. Wilbur keeled over at once, collapsing onto the ground. Ryder and Isabella cried out in shock, running toward him.